Welcome to Language Explorers, where we share the magic of language and emotions. I'm Stacey Marie, and in each episode, we explore the emotional and personal connections we have with the languages we speak, and how this changes the way we think and act. Curious? Keep listening. Today, I'm excited to share another inspiring conversation that can open your mind to new perspectives. No matter which language we're speaking, every conversation is a chance to learn, grow, share, and have some fun. So, let's explore words and expand our world together. Before we start with today's interview, I'd like to take a minute to give you some context, some background information to help you follow along. As you may have seen, since I began this new podcast, I've started publishing 2 different interviews. Each of these interviews is separated into several episodes because I wanted to make them short, bite-sized, easy to fit into your day. The first one is with Lydia, where we speak mostly in French, as she is in love with the French language. The second is with Isabelle, who is crazy about English. I decided to alternate each week, publishing one, then the other, so that you can choose if you listen in French, English, or follow both stories. As I have mentioned earlier, this podcasting adventure is very new to me. With Lydia, I structured our mini interviews, leaving some space for improvisation. Isabelle was my second interviewee, and my intention was to be even more natural, authentic, and spontaneous. What you will hear in the beginning of this episode was not intended to be published at first. It was simply our behind-the-scenes conversation that we were having right after episode 1 with Isabelle. In the middle of this interlude between episodes, I realized how much I liked our energy when we weren't following a script. Therefore, I decided to keep this spontaneousness in our talk, and Isabelle has agreed to this too. I hope that the natural joy and curiosity in our voices is contagious, and that you will get inspired like Isabelle, and I did. So here it is, the behind-the-scenes scene where we speak about embracing mistakes and imperfections. It's an experience. You know what?
Yes.
I would like to share, Isabelle, but I'm really happy to be living this experience with you, this first podcast, in the fact that I'm a little nervous about doing it. It's a new experience for me, and
Yes.
I'm making the parallel, if you can say that in English, je fais le parallèle, with learning language experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's jumping out of
Yes.
your comfort zone. Jumping, I don't know. But yeah, it felt like a jump to me today. And I'm happy to do that because I want to put myself in that space. I want to keep doing it, to know what it feels like, to find more ways to help people to do that with the language learning experience, but with other experiences too. And I think the more I do it to myself, the more information that I'm going to have to help other people. So I think you've asked me the question before about me learning other languages. I'm not sure if it was you. Do I want to learn another language other than English or French? In any case, for me, I have had this question before. I've told people I do want to learn another language to put myself back in the learner's shoes and have that process again. But I don't have a language that I really need in my daily life, right? And I think that's something that's quite important to take into account.
do you really need, I know the answer for you, but do you really need the English language? What for? Or do you really need Spanish? What for? For me, I wanted to go through that process again, but I wasn't sure which language and why. And so I haven't taken that jump. But just when I was starting this podcast, and I said to myself, and I said to you, I'm nervous. This is new to me. I thought, oh, actually, I can experience all sorts of new, scary things for me and go through that process.
Yeah.
And learn from it.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for
yes,
sharing it
it's
with me.
a really new experience. Yeah, with pleasure. It's a great adventure for me too. So I've never done something like that. It's very new. So it's exciting, but really, I'm not sure if it will be good for the listeners because I don't know. I don't know. I'm just curious to hear what it will be and with the magic of the le montage. If you cut some bad parts and keep the good parts, maybe it will be really good, but I don't know.
Oh, that's so funny that you say that. For me too, it is a real adventure. The brave part of me says, just do it and be natural and see how it goes. Like I said, I think when we speak about language learning, we're both so energetic about it, so excited, right? And we always have so much to say to each other, which is why I said we need to do this and put this out, because I think other people might like it too. Maybe not everybody. Maybe some people might not enjoy it. It's true. It could be way too fast for certain people too when they're learning, because like I said, we're speaking naturally. But what you mentioned about the montage, cutting parts out, taking out the bad parts, the more I think about it, the more I think that the bad parts can be very good parts in the way that they are showing our mistakes, our imperfections, our blah, 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 blah. Oh, that sentence did not sound good. And just this whole natural part of when we're having a conversation, whether it be English, because that's what en français, or whatever language, it's doesn't always come out right. And it just happens that way. And it continues and life goes on. And so I thought, how can I be helping people to become brave and be able to overcome their fears for whatever goals they have if I'm saying, no, it needs to be perfect first. No, it needs to be just right. Yes, I do need to take out the bad parts, right? So I'm thinking, no, we just, obviously, I'm doing this with you and it's an agreement together. So I will definitely have you listen to this. And if I leave it all just like the way it is and don't take out these parts, I'd like your approval for that too. I want you to feel comfortable with that. But this is what I'm thinking, just keeping it natural and daring to put our natural selves out there.
Yes, I think it's a really good idea because I'm just remember. En fait, okay.
Okay. Can you just repeat what you just said in French again?
Yes.
Because that sound was horrible.
Yes. En fait, j'étais justement en train de me souvenir de l'émotion que je ressentais en fait au début apprentissage en anglais. En fait, j'avais vraiment cette peur de parler, cette peur de ne pas comprendre la réponse, par exemple, à ma question. Et en fait, je ressentais un peu de honte. Et c'est peut-être justement parce que tout ce qu'on entend en anglais autour de nous au quotidien, que ce soit dans les chansons, que ce soit quelqu'un dans notre entourage professionnel qui parle très bien anglais, ou dans un podcast ou à la télé, peu importe, à la radio, on entend toujours anglais. Ce qui fait que peut-être que je me suis mis une pression de dingue et je me dis que peut-être effectivement ça peut aider en fait au début donc oui, je suis en train d'apprendre l'anglais, ça fait même quelques années en réalité que je bosse mon anglais pour des raisons personnelles Et pourtant, je fais, plein d'erreurs et je cherche mes mots et c'est normal, en fait, ça ne me gêne pas du tout, pour communiquer avec quelqu'un, qui ne parle pas du tout français.
Qui ne parle pas du tout français?
Oui, c'est-à-dire que if I'm speaking in English with someone, who doesn't speak French,
Mhm.
I am able to understand and to be understood
Mm.
by this person. It's not a
Mm.
problem if I make mistakes. I just need to repeat or ask this person to repeat. If I didn't understand, it's not a big deal. I just need to focus and maybe to slow down and think a bit, and it will comes to me. It will come to me. Mistakes are always there, but it's not a problem.
Yes, awesome, incredible. Yes, I totally understand that. Yeah, that nuance, that difference when you're speaking to someone who doesn't speak French and you're speaking English. You can't do what we're doing and just revert back to French when the word comes to you, or you just decide, yeah, it's another step. But switching back to French is, for us, the way we're doing it, like a game in a way. Like you said, it's like magic. It's also, I don't think I mentioned it, an opportunity for the French speaking people to maybe rest their brain a little bit, because as we were saying, it's tiring and it takes a lot of energy to understand. And so if we speak French a little bit, then yes, then maybe they can take a brain break, as we say. But when you're
Yes.
when you only have that one language to share, like when you're traveling and this other person doesn't speak French, then as you said, you don't have that joker to speak French. You need
No.
to try a different way to say it, or use your body language, or take a pencil and draw a picture,
Yes.
or things like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
body language is international. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very useful. Sometimes I just use my eyes or my fingers to be understood. It's if the people is if people is if people is no if people is patient, I would like to say the
It didn't
person
feel
is
right.
patient, maybe.
Yes, if the person is patient, or if people are patient.
Ah, yes, I knew it.
You did.
I heard the mistake.
You
And
did.
yes, if people are patient with me, I just need to reformulate my sentence or ask for. Sometimes I just say the word in French with an English accent, so it's really weird, but the person understands. It works.
Yes, that's so true. I've tried that so much. So often, where just say the word, yeah, try to pronounce it in a different way. And so many
Yes.
of the words are similar that it can really help. It might not work, but it's for me, in any case, I think it's definitely been worth taking that risk of trying to say the word and see if it actually translates okay, so the person gets the idea. Yeah, that is a great one. Just coming back to making mistakes, even me in my position as another professional, it can be quite uncomfortable to be thinking, oh, because I'm a professional, I'm not supposed to be making the mistakes. I should know the translation for this word or for that word. I don't necessarily know. We spoke about this the other day, I think, about being a language learner. I consider myself a language learner in English still, even though it's my mother tongue. I am learning new
Yeah.
words thanks to you and many other
Yeah.
people, because French speaking people will use a word like that. Oh, does this exist? And I think to myself, I don't think so. Maybe it does. And then I will go and research the word, and I realize it exists in English, but we just don't often, or I just don't often use that word. I don't ever use that word. And it's maybe hasn't been used in my environment. And so I didn't know it. So I'm learning English words every day. And I'm just so much more humble now, having this experience. Yeah. And being able to admit I make mistakes. And that's life, right? And I don't know everything. Then that's not a reason for stopping and giving up on it. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Okay, so that's really funny.
Yes, you're totally right.
I was going to say that's funny, this conversation that we just had, because the next topic that I wanted to talk about, it was embracing mistakes and imperfections.
Perfect.
We just went off script there. But actually we were on script, because that's
Fantastic.
what I was thinking about talking about, but I was just winging it. Have you heard this one before? We are winging it.
Winning?
Winging with the wings, like flying.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, to wing it is to improvise. We were speaking about improvising earlier too.
Yes.
So what was it that you said? Can you remind me again? Could you tell the story? What did we say just before we started recording about improvising?
Yes, I was trying to tell you that I didn't take the time to prepare this interview. I will just improve this interview. I made a mistake because I wanted to say that I will improvise this interview, but I just used the wrong word, and the wrong word is improve. But it's a great word, because maybe when I'm improvising, I am improving my English.
Exactly. Yeah, so I was telling Isabelle, sorry, I'm speaking to the listeners, that I had not made that connection before between the term improve and improvise, that they are very similar, and yeah, that connection can be made. Yeah, I thought that was a really fun way to make the connection. Oh, yes. And also that your brain had obviously made the connection because you replaced the word improvise by improve, because they're so similar. There's a connection there, but it just wasn't very conscious. So that's really interesting in the language learning experience, to know that our brain is making connections between languages. And when we have a language that we already speak, we can make connections with the two languages, and it can help us to memorize, as you were saying earlier. It's to have that knowledge. Yes, okay, I can make those connections, and connecting words within a language also. So yeah.
For sure.
Would you like to take a break? Are you okay?
No, just for open the door to my dogs, my two dogs. And I hope we didn't heard about my dog sparkling. Yes, you heard it
No.
earlier.
No,
You
I
didn't?
think
Okay,
no,
perfect.
no, I couldn't hear anything.
Perfect. Because I was sure that it was the case, and I thought, oh, I'm so sorry for the interview. So that's not a problem.
No, it's fine.
Yes, because my dog with I forgot the word. Les écureuils. I know it. It's not sparkle. It's terrible.
Oh, you are so close. You have the right number of syllables. It starts with the same letter, with the S.
Squirrel, squirrel,
You
squirrel.
found it. Well, this is really good timing too, because
it takes time.
I was going to introduce this next episode here, which was about embracing mistakes and imperfections. So we already started talking about this. And then we had this little interruption with your dog and speaking about the squirrels. And I wanted to take an opportunity at some point to speak about the mistakes and how we handle them, right? So earlier we spoke about the fact that it can be okay to make mistakes and we can learn from them and things like this. Well, here it wasn't a mistake. You were just struggling a little to find the word squirrel. And so what I did is I waited a little, not to make you suffer. That was not my goal, but we had an agreement. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, it was not very good, but I can hear you now.
Okay. Whoops. All right. So maybe I'll just start over again. Oh, that's very sweet. My son just left me a message to say that he was going out. He didn't want to interrupt me. So he left me this. I don't know if you can read it. It says, "Love you."
Oh, so nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Coming back, just to repeat what I was saying. In this episode, I wanted to speak with you about embracing mistakes and imperfections. And we've already started talking about this earlier. And in addition to making mistakes, I had just invited you to take care of anything that you needed to in between our recordings. And you started to speak about your dog and this little furry brown animal, and you couldn't remember its name. And I just wanted to take an opportunity at some point during our conversation to speak about not just the mistakes and how we deal with them, but how we deal with it when we can't find a word. And an agreement between us, and it can be agreements with other people who you're speaking with, is how to deal with that. And so we have spoken about this before. When you could not find the word squirrel and I knew what you were talking about, I remembered, I let you take some time to try to find the word, not to make it painful or to embarrass you or anything. It's really not the point. It's all about making those connections in the brain. And when you said it, you said, "I know this word, I've seen it." You started to say it with the first letter, right? And this is the proper number of syllables. You were very close. You were getting closer to that right word. And when you make that connection on your own, then the next time that you need to use that word, it's going to be easier. I remember learning about this image in neurolanguage coaching about a path, neural pathways. It's as if you're walking through the forest, and when you're learning a new language or you're learning a new word or a new formulation, it's like going through the jungle. It's like going through really thick bush because you've never gone that way before. And so it's really hard. It's struggling. And you do it once and it's a little bit more clear. But the next time you go through, you still really don't see too much. And every time you go again and you push through it yourself, you can create a path. And the more you do it, the more clear it will get. And that path will be well trodden. I think I need to look that one up in English. Anyways, the path will be a lot easier to go through, to walk through. And so
easier.
Yeah. Okay. It took you a little while, a few minutes ago with that word.
Just 1 minute and it's good.
Oh, that was not a minute. Maybe it felt like a minute to you. It was actually quite short, but sometimes it can feel so uncomfortable when the word doesn't come. Yeah. And same thing for me. Like I said, sometimes I put so much pressure on myself because of me being the professional. I think I need to find that word right away. And then it gets me stressed. And I know that the stress, same thing, it's the way the brain works. The stress is making it worse. Just telling myself, it's okay. If you don't find the word, you don't need to know everything. I can relax. And then sometimes the word will come right away. So yeah, I just thought it was useful to speak about that. And in our conversations, because we have so many things to talk about, I don't want to break the flow of our conversations. And so I don't want to necessarily, like I said, wait for that word all the time. Sometimes I might give it to you or offer or say, "Is that what you mean?" and offer another word so that we don't have to stop the conversation and start talking about something else or go off subject. Together, we can do this to move in and out of, oh, let's stop and try to find that word, or let's just work around it. Let's just say things in a different way. And same goes for the making mistakes. And is it an appropriate time to be correcting? For me, in these conversations, it can sometimes be helpful to correct when there could be a problem with comprehension. Like maybe we might be misunderstanding you if we don't go back at that formulation because of the way it was said. But so many mistakes that we make are really not so important, especially with the help of the context. So sometimes we might come back on formulations because it's helping you or me to learn new things and because it's appropriate in that moment. And other times it's okay, I think, to just let it go and keep talking about what we're talking about, stay on subject.
Yes, because there are mistakes that don't break the understanding, and if I make mistakes in my sentence, you still get the point. So it's not really a very big problem. So we just need to continue, and the more I practice, the more I'm comfortable. And like you said, when I'm stressed, I'm stuck. So I need to feel really comfortable and relaxed to find my words easier.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, and it's so much more pleasant too to speak like that, right? When you're relaxed. And that actually
Yes.
helps with motivation too, right? Because when it's more fun or it's more relaxing, you want to do it more. And that reminds me of the word that you used, excuse me, recreational work? Is that how you said it?
Yes. Yes, it's a really weird expression, but
Yeah.
yes, it's still work, but it's like a game. And this game help you to learn something.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, that is wonderful.
As we bring this episode to an end, to wrap up, I would love to leave you with a few questions to reflect on in connection with our conversation today with Isabelle. Do you remember when Isabelle spoke about how we are surrounded by perfect English in the media, like on TV, in movies, and songs? That is not real everyday speech. And it reminds me of how media can distort our body image, for example. Comparing ourselves to these polished, idealized versions can make us feel inadequate sometimes. And the same thing can happen when we're learning a new language. Have you ever felt ashamed or afraid to speak, comparing yourself to an unrealistic standard of fluency, like Isabelle mentioned? The truth is, communication is rarely perfect, even for native speakers. Another interesting question that Isabelle spoke about was her use of body language. Do you remember? She said she sometimes makes herself understood with her eyes or her fingers. And if we look closer at our communication, think about how much context actually helps us in our native languages. When we talk, we're not just relying on our words. There's body language, expressions, and so much nonverbal communication. But in a new language, we often forget that we can still use this to our advantage. We often focus so much on our words, on getting them right. But what if we were to let go of some of that pressure we put on ourselves to find the right words or perfect words and have more trust in our nonverbal communication and our ability to find words that get the message across? Imagine how much pressure that might lift, giving us space to be more creative with our message, with our words, with our body language and expressions. Imagine how that would change our focus and our energy when we're speaking. And as listeners too, we have a role in helping others to communicate. When Isabelle was telling me about her dogs, I waited while she searched for the word squirrel. And after that pause, hearing her exclaim, "Squirrel, I found it!" we could clearly hear her joy. How often do we give others the space to find their words? Do we encourage them, offer positive feedback, or even ask what would make them feel more at ease? When someone is searching for a word, we could ask them if they want for us to suggest a word that might suit them, or give them more time to express themselves without help. And lastly, what about improvising our conversations? Do you feel the need to prepare everything you're going to say? Or maybe even stop yourself from speaking because you're not ready enough, or you're afraid that you'll maybe get stuck in the middle? What would happen if you tried anyways, trusting that you will find a way to make your message understood? The journey of learning a new language is full of ups and downs, and it's also full of potential. Potential to connect, to learn humility, and to be more inclusive, active listeners, and confident speakers. I would really appreciate it if you would share your reflections, your experiences, your journey too. They're not only a way to keep me motivated to continue these podcasts, but you can help other people on their learning paths too. Thank you for joining us on Language Explorers. I hope today's conversation has inspired you to think about language in new ways. Remember, every word we speak, no matter the language, can be a step toward greater connection, understanding, and inclusion. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, and join us next time for more stories that reveal the beauty and power of language. Until then, keep exploring.